What's going on? What's going on, everybody? How y'all doing? How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Let me get the light here for you guys. How you guys doing? How you guys doing? I see we got some people in here already. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? We're gonna have a fun show today. How you guys doing? How you guys doing? Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. How you guys doing? Nervous? People are nervous. Yeah, tonight is going to be a big night, man. Tonight's going to be a big night. History could be made. History definitely could be made. So I got a pretty fun kind of breakdown for you guys today. So as usual, make sure you guys hit the likes and let's give it like a few minutes. Although we kind of post this thing, today we did 30 minutes in advance and it still takes some time for people to catch up to it. So let's just give it a few minutes here. And just check in and let us know where you're coming from, and then we'll definitely go live. So just make sure you guys go ahead and do that. And let's get ready for the game tonight. Let's get ready for the game tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun. Okay, so real quick, for you, for those of you that want to live chat with us during the game tonight, you can definitely do that by signing up to Dreamerspro Max. Marco just post the link in the comment section in the in the chat box or whatever to the top. So if you guys are game 6 games in the playoffs, make sure you guys go ahead and sign up to Dreamerspro Max and get 7 days of access, charge free. I mean, whatever it is, you know what I mean. And you guys can definitely live chat with us. So if you guys want to live chat, Marco's pinned it there. Also say what's good to Marco. Marco's also in here. And hey, welcome in, welcome in. Appreciate that. Welcome in. Chicago, what's good? We got California. People are nervous. Funny enough, I'm actually not nervous tonight, man. But I can understand it. I think, hey, what's going on? How you doing from Ghana? I'm not nervous tonight, but I can understand some people being nervous, especially people that have been supporting the Clippers for years. I can definitely understand that. So I completely get that. So that makes a lot of sense to me. I'm not nervous at all, though. I'm not nervous at all. When I was in high school, man, and stuff like that, I used to really like sports used to really, get to me, especially like after my favorite team or player, whatever, lost. But nowadays, man, we got to get over that. I don't know if it's because we're in this field. So, but yeah, tonight, I feel good about the game tonight, to be quite honest with you. Matter of fact, I feel amazing. So, I feel amazing. There's a dude on YouTube. I think he's definitely got to be a troll. His name is, was it Jesse Lee Peterson? And he always says amazing. I feel amazing, but he's a troll. So I feel just as good as he does whenever he's saying amazing. I feel just as good as, Clippers in 6. Yeah, it looks like I think Skip Bayless is ultimately going to end up being right, picking the Clippers in 6, but I don't think he would have picked them in this type of scenario. Any update on Kawhi? We're definitely going to get to that. Just make sure you guys hit the likes. Let's give it like another minute and a half, and then we'll get started. So just make sure you hit the like so more notifications go out. Appreciate that. How you guys doing? Who's better, KD or Kawhi? We've done some videos on that in the past. I think it's a toss-up, really. I think it's so hard to say who's better because I think they're so close. Really, like they're so close. If you're talking now, obviously KD is the more prolific scorer. I think KD can score 40 points on a consistent basis more than Kawhi Leonard. As far as efficiency, I think is a wash. I think they're both very efficient players. I think when you now factor in defense, KD is also a very good defender. Funny enough, I think Kevin Durant is the best defensive player on the Brooklyn Nets. So KD's a very good defender. If you ask me, Kawhi, I think Kawhi obviously is a better defender than KD. So when you put all of those things, playmaking, I would probably put them the same. So when you put all of those things together, I think it's a toss-up. If some people pick KD, I completely get that. If some people pick Kawhi, I get that. Somebody saying Mike Conley is back. Yeah, I think he's going to be back today. Hey, welcome in from the Philippines. If he's back today, good. That's good. That's good for them. Good news. Okay, let's give it about 30 more seconds before we go live. Let's give it about 30 more seconds. Again, for the new people that are coming in, if you guys want to live chat today, Make sure, live chat during the game. Make sure you guys go ahead and sign up to Dreamerspro Max. Marco has pinned that to the top of the comment section. So if you guys want to live chat tonight for the game, make sure you guys sign up to Dreamerspro Max. You'll be able to do that. So make sure you guys go ahead and do that. So let's just give it about 10 more seconds. These Clippers have broken up my Mavs. It's a disaster in Dallas. Rick Carlisle is gone. Thanks for that, Candace. Yeah, I think I don't know how Rick Carlisle is. I think he must be in his 60s. Maybe he just got tired of coaching. That could also be it. Maybe, the situation there with Kristaps Porzingis not being happy, and now they're talking about Luka Doncic possibly not being happy. There's so many situations, and I don't know if Luka Doncic's contract is actually expiring this year, but yeah, that's sports, man. That's how it goes. Sometimes it goes like that, but appreciate that. Anyway, okay, so let's get into the live here. So we get you guys out of here. I know it's Friday, a lot of stuff to do, so let's get into this live here. So, okay. So let me get into it. Make sure for the new people coming in, make sure you guys hit the likes and let's get started so I get you guys out of here in a decent time. Okay, he's 61 years old. So you kind of imagine that. What's the guy? Danny Ainge. I think Danny Ainge stepped down as a team president or team president or basketball operation, whatever it is, because he just wanted to be with his family. People at that age, you're 60 years old. Yeah, you want to win, but you also have a family. And at a certain point, you're like, okay, do I want to spend the rest of my years coaching basketball, or do I want to be around my family, my grandkids? Which one is like, at the end, like which one is more important? So I think he chose his family. So that's the responsible thing to do in my opinion. But everybody has their look at Tom Thibodeau. Tom Thibodeau, the coach of the New York Knicks. Tom Thibodeau is not even married. He's completely dedicated to his what do you call it? To his work. So it depends on the person. So it is what it is. Anyway, so let's get into it today. So tonight is going to be a big game. Okay, tonight is going to be a very big game, and Game 6 is finally here. Game 6 is finally here, and it's going to be a big one. It's going to be a big one that I'm anticipating greatly anticipating. And for the first time, the Clippers are going to have a chance to make it to a Western Conference Finals for the very first time, right? Now, going into this series, I already thought they had a chance to get to the Western Conference Finals. I thought they were going to do it in 7 games, but then it turned out as the series went on, I got a better chance to kind of pay attention to the Utah Jazz, and I understood that that team could have some chinks in its armor, especially on the mental side of things. I noticed that the Utah Jazz could be rattled. And I saw them get rattled multiple times throughout the series, and it just made me say, wait a minute. These guys can be beaten. They can be beaten, especially mentally. In sports, mentality has a lot to do with everything, right? I've heard what's the name? Brandon Marshall on Speak for Yourself. A lot of people kind of ridicule Brandon Marshall because maybe he's not the most articulate guy, whatever you want to say, but he provides a very unique perspective to sports, which I think is, given the fact that he is a former NFL player, he talks about the importance of having a strong mind and having a strong mentality. That is absolutely valid. He's the only guy that really has been talking about Paul George from the mental aspect of things. He's not really spoken about him from a skill set standpoint. He's been the one kind of driving that gravy train, and he's made some solid points. And I'm going to get to some points a little bit later about Paul George. But it's definitely going to be a big night, and I thought that the Clippers could have won. So this series, but now with Kawhi Leonard out, that kind of changed the landscape of things. So in the past, I think a lot of people expected that Lob City Clippers team to be the one that would ultimately break through. When they had Chris Paul, they had Blake Griffin, they had DeAndre Jordan. I think at one point they had Caron Butler, they had Lamar Odom. They had Matt Barnes. They had so many players on that team. But for whatever reason, that team could never seem to kind of, kind of get over the hump. They would get there, and then all of a sudden, things just didn't work out. Ultimately, we came to find, and Doc Rivers was the coach. I'm going to get to Doc Rivers a little bit later on in this live. So if you guys want to hear me get to Doc Rivers, make sure you guys stick around because I got some stuff I want to say about Doc Rivers a little bit later, which you don't want to miss out on. Anyway, we thought that team was going to be the team that broke through, but it turned out that ultimately they just were not good enough. Like, there's just no two ways to say it. They couldn't win because they weren't good enough. Now, some people can speak to a call here, speak to a call there, but you don't get it done. You don't get it done. At the end of the day, we're not going to make excuses. They just weren't good enough. But I felt that when the Clippers went out there and got Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, but especially Kawhi Leonard, I felt like that organization had a legitimate chance, a legitimate shot at winning the championship. Kawhi Leonard is one of the few players in basketball that when you put him on your team, you automatically become a championship contending team. Some people have said that about LeBron, and to some aspect, and to some extent, it's true. And you can say the very same thing about Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard is one of these players that the moment you add him to your team, you go from being a good playoff team or a playoff team to a championship contender. His history shows that. Look at his time in San Antonio. Look at his time with the Toronto Raptors. Look at his time with the Clippers. Now, some people would say, "Well, if that was true, why didn't they win the championship the first year?" Okay, that was true. Why didn't the Miami Heat win the championship in the first year? Like, why didn't some? It doesn't, just because you don't win a championship the first year doesn't mean you're not a championship team. Kawhi Leonard had that effect on teams. Then when you add Paul George to the mix, I felt like, I said, okay, you add Paul George, I felt like, okay, they had a legitimate shot. And I think that, listen, in my opinion, I don't know, I'm not a historian of Clippers kind of lore and Clippers history and all of this stuff, but in my opinion, I think Kawhi Leonard is the greatest player that ever played for the Clippers. I think he's the greatest player that's ever played with the Clippers. I already have him top 20 in my top 20 all time. And he has one of the most unique resumes. Unfortunately, he's injured this year. If he was not injured, he would be one of the few players, apart from LeBron James, that won with different organizations, but he would be one of the few players that won titles for organizations that never won a title. You go to Toronto, you win a championship. They never won a title. They've never been to the finals, I don't think, or they never won a title for sure. Then you go to the Los Angeles Clippers and you win a title with them. That's very impressive. Now, LeBron has won titles with 3 separate teams, but you go sign with the Lakers. The Lakers already had a winning culture. They had 16 championship banners before he walked through the door. So they expected them to win. Nobody expected the Clippers to win. Nobody's expecting anything from the Clippers to that extent. So I think that will make him very unique to say, wow, this guy has gone to organizations and really built championship programs there. That's incredible to me. So I really felt like, listen, this him and Paul George had a legitimate chance of doing things. Now, quick news. I got an update on my ESPN app from regarding Donovan Mitchell. So it turns out that Donovan Mitchell is going to be a game time decision because I think he has an issue with his ankle or something like that. So he's a game time decision from what I've heard. Kawhi Leonard will be out tonight. He's not going to play tonight. So there will be no Kawhi Leonard. There's some people that have been asking any news about Kawhi. Any news about Kawhi? I haven't heard anything. There's been no results yet. Come back. I think they said it takes something like 48 hours or something like that for you to get a better to get some what's the word I'm looking for, to get to get some information on what exactly is going on with this knee, whether it's an ACL tear or an ACL sprain. I'm not 100% sure yet. Ty Lue, I heard him talk yesterday. He didn't mention anything about it. Truthfully, I believe we're going to get more definitive information probably later today or tomorrow. I think you're better to err on the side of safety or to err on the side of caution. I would say tomorrow. And I heard that Mike Conley may return tonight. It's not 100% sure. This is according to ESPN. Now, obviously, I'm not tracking this minute to minute because we have other things that we're doing. But that's what I heard. That I heard that Mike Conley may return tonight, but also Donovan Mitchell is going to be a game time decision. Okay. So we've kind of spoken about that. Okay, so let's get into the game. I think obviously this is going to be for all the chips. You see what we have on the thumbnail there on the video. And the reason I say that is if the Clippers lose tonight, for you to ask them to go back to Utah to win a game 7, I think is going to be impossible. I don't think the Clippers go back to Utah and win again. in that environment. If they had Kawhi Leonard, then absolutely, I feel like they have a better chance. They would have a very good chance, right? Although it wouldn't be a guarantee. So I think this game 6 is going to decide everything, and I think there's a lot of things at stake here. But going into this game, I think the Clippers need to do what got them here in the first place. That's what I think needs to happen in this game today. What do I mean by that? I think the Clippers need to start this game the same way they've been starting pretty much, I think, since game 3, if I'm not mistaken. They need to start this game, and they need to blitz Donovan Mitchell early and often. They need to blitz him. If you look at game 3, game 4, game 5, Donovan Mitchell, the Clippers essentially said, you know what? We're going to allow everybody else to beat us except him. And the reason I think they did that is quite simple. You and I know Joe Ingles cannot beat you in a series or in a game. He's not going to keep scoring at that rate. Donovan Mitchell can. Reggie Jackson by himself can't beat you. He can beat you, by committee, but he by himself cannot beat you. Paul George can beat you in a game. Kawhi Leonard can beat you in a game. So I think the Clippers need to key in on Donovan Mitchell. If he's playing, make sure he doesn't get off to a hot start, because if they allow him to get off to a hot start, starts coming off of those screens, pulling up for those long threes, it's going to open up the floor. It's going to allow the other shooters to have more spacing, and you're going to get a repeat of what's been happening early in the series. So I think it's very important for them to key in on this guy early. Make sure that they key in on him, because you don't want to get it. You don't want Donovan Mitchell to establish a rhythm. You don't want him to. You can lock him up for one quarter, and in the next quarter, he can just break loose. I think in game 4, I think he went scoreless in the first quarter, and he scored 16 points in the second quarter. So that's something that the Clippers need to be mindful of. Is something that you can't. He's not the guy that you want shooting the ball the majority of the time. Something else I want to say about this. I've noticed that if you constantly double Donovan Mitchell and you constantly force him to pass the ball, what he will do eventually, what I've seen, is that he will begin to press the issue. He will start pressing the issue, meaning he will start forcing up long threes. He's just going to do it. He's going to pull up from very far away, 30 feet out, and he's going to start taking threes, because he's going to try to impose his will on the game. These are things that you want. If you want Donovan Mitchell shooting 30 foot plus 3-pointers, because those are not good shots. I don't care what anybody says. It's just not an efficient shot. Unless you are Stephen Curry and Damian Lillard, that's just not a good shot. Hope the Clippers win, or the curse might be real. I'm not sure about the whole curse thing, but I think some people subscribe to it, but I definitely understand what you're saying, Max. Thanks for that. Another thing, I think the Clippers need to come out with the same energy that they came out with in game 4 and game 5. If you noticed, in game 4, the Clippers did something I had not seen them do for the entire postseason, which is start a game with a lot of energy and intensity early. Usually, it's the opponent that kind of punches them in the mouth. They leave them in a malaise, like in a daze or whatever it is. Then they're a little bit disoriented. Then they now start to come back from, start to claw their way back in the game. That happened in game 1, 2, and 3. In game 4, it was different. In game 5, they actually started the game. With the lead. Now, obviously, the Jazz closed the gap, but it didn't matter because they came out with the right level of intensity, and Ty Lue had these guys ready to play. I think that is something that they're going to need to do in this game. They need to do that early, and they need to come out with a lot of energy early in the game. Another thing, this is something I've stressed all series long. They need to make shots early. They need to make shots early. Why do I know this? Because the Utah Jazz have this let's say tendency to keep coming at you in waves. They're going to jack up a lot of threes. And if they start making their threes, you need to make shots. In game 4, and what is it, in game 5, the Utah Jazz hit 10 threes in the first quarter. But the Clippers kept on making shots, and that kept them in the game. I think they were down 37-36, right? You don't make your shots, you're looking at a 15-point deficit in the first quarter. So the Clippers need to make shots, because the Jazz are going to jack up a lot of threes. So they need to make their shots early and often. There's just no two ways about it. They just need to make shots. Period. End of story. What's the next thing I wanted to say? Paul George. I think they need to try to get Paul George or Paul. I think they need Paul George needs to get off to a hot start. Paul George is one of these players that I've noticed. He's one of these players that if Paul George gets off to a good rhythm early in the game, he can sustain that rhythm throughout the game. Now, it comes and goes in stretches, but he's one of these players, once he establishes a rhythm early, it's usually a good sign. I've seen Kawhi Leonard not really have a good rhythm early in the game and then come on very strong late in the second half of games, especially in third and fourth quarters. Kawhi Leonard is that type of guy. PG, on the other hand, I think he's affected a little bit more when he comes out, when he doesn't come out with a lot of rhythm early on in the game. So I think PG needs to start the game good, and I think he will be very, very confident. Now, let's talk about Paul George more in depth, because I actually want to get into this in this. I want to get into this here, and I've been seeing the comments, but I'm not paying attention to it. Like people at that pat, it's not affecting me. And then look at, hold on 1 second. Your comments, man. People laughing at Paul George, man. Y'all don't know, like the joke is on you. It's not even affecting you. You typing it, but it makes no difference. So anyway, so let me get into this Paul George thing here. Something I want to talk about. PG. I think we are witnessing a shift in Paul George. I think we are witnessing a shift in Paul George. What do I mean? I think there's a mental shift taking place with Paul George. Yesterday in that live, I gave you the example of the moment I think that PG realized that he could become a star player in the NBA. I gave you guys that moment. He was playing against the Miami Heat. I think it was in 2011 or something like that in the playoffs. That's when the Indiana Pacers had, Danny Grange, all of these guys. And they were playing against the Miami Heat. Paul George goes up for a dunk. One of his most famous highlights. He goes up for a dunk and dunks it on Birdman. He yams it on him. And the dunk was so spectacular. It was like a coming out moment for him. When he did that, the whole crowd was like in astonishment. I think he did that. I think he actually pulled off that dunk in Miami. When he pulled off that dunk, even LeBron looked over at Paul George as they were going back to their respective benches. LeBron walked up to him and dapped him up. It was like, damn, that was serious. I think at that moment, Paul George realized he could become a star. I think it's moments. It's not like I think it's moments that you have where they're kind of like defining moments in your life. I think what's happened right now, I think that we're beginning to witness a shift in Paul George. If you notice, Paul George has scored 30-plus points over the last 3 games in the playoffs. 30-plus points over the last 3 games. What I believe we're beginning to witness is Paul George looks like he's embracing the mentality of, I gotta be the man that carries this team. Paul George doesn't look like the Paul George I saw last year in the playoffs. Hell, he doesn't even look like the Paul George that I saw earlier on in these playoffs. Paul George looks like he has the mentality of, I'm going to carry this team. I'm going to lead from the front. And I think he also knows that for the very first time, he has a lot of help. I'll be at Staples Center later. Yeah, okay. I hope you enjoy the game. Thanks for that. I think he's realizing, unlike when he was with the Indiana Pacers, he got some real rough riders with him. There's no scenario in which a Utah Jazz player is going to walk up to Paul George on a court and intimidate him. There's just no way. The Clippers personnel, there's no way you're going to try to intimidate the Clippers. I think the Clippers are the nastiest team left in the playoffs. Team full of dogs. They're not the team you want to run into in an alley. That's not the team you want to run into. There are other teams that kind of like to walk that walk, not the Clippers. Clippers got some rough dudes on that team. Marcus Morris Sr. Patrick Beverley doesn't know he's 6'1". You don't want to tangle with a dude like that. Dudes that don't have the type of person you don't want to get into an altercation with, I've noticed, is a crazy person. A crazy person is unpredictable. They can do anything. They can rip off your nose, snatch off your ears. They can do anything. I feel like Paul George looks at his teammates and realizes he got a bunch of rough riders in him that are ready to go the extra mile with him these playoffs. He knows that, and I think is giving him confidence. I think the coaching staff, Chauncey Billups, Ty Lue, and all of these guys have been saying different things to him or things to him that for whatever reason, Doc Rivers or whoever it is can't say, have not been saying. I think Paul George has done a very good job at blocking out the noise. Let me see what Tori said. Chauncey Billups is the X factor by telling PG to attack favors and Ingles and dribble. I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. Thanks for that, Tori. So people are talking about Paul George's pandemic P, but they don't realize the joke is on them. People have been hating on Paul George all series long, and he's been giving them buckets. He's been giving them buckets. It reminds me of the time when Ron Artest, Meta World Peace, was trash talking Kobe, but Kobe was giving him buckets, and then Kobe won the game. But you still trash talking, and you're on the bus, or you're on your way home. But he's still giving him buckets. So Paul George, I believe we're witnessing a mental shift with him, and I think Paul George is finally beginning to realize that he's the best player on the floor. I think Paul George is finally. First of all, okay, let me say this. No one that calls himself a basketball connoisseur, somebody that watches basketball, no one truly believes that Donovan Mitchell is better than Paul George. If you watch basketball, if there are any basketball players that are watching this live or basketball fans that watch this live, all of y'all know, they will tell you for free, Paul George is a better basketball player than Donovan Mitchell. The only one that's not going to tell you that are just going to be haters. They all know this. Everybody knows this. If it was in a pickup game, in a game at the YMCA, whatever you want to call it, Rucker Park, whatever it is, everybody would tell you that Paul George is a better player. Everybody would tell you that. His handles is bananas. He's 6'9". He can shoot the mid-range. He can shoot the pull-up three. He can back you down. He can defend you. It's hard to guard him. You can put Paul George on LeBron. You're not going to put Donovan Mitchell on. Like, basketball players already knew that Paul George was the better player. We already knew this. But now I think PG is beginning to believe it. We already knew this. I think people are just trying to be funny, talking about, we all know that Paul George is the better player. When his mind is intact, if we're talking about all-around skills, he's the better player. Because Donovan Mitchell, if you talk about scoring, yeah, he can. If you're shooting 12, 13 threes a game, yeah, Paul George will shoot 10 threes and make like 7 of them. He's super efficient. So we all knew that Paul George was the better player, but I think he's finally beginning to believe that. Watching his body language in that game in Utah, when Royce O'Neal and all of them were trying to say, Paul George was walking around like, I'm the best mofo on this court. And the Utah Jazz players are beginning to realize, wait a minute, this dude may be understand. There was nobody better than him. He's the best player. The Clippers in this series had the 2 best players. Forget about what the media is saying. Basketball fans, real basketball fans, people that play basketball, they'll tell you for free. Paul George has always been the better. They had the best 2 players. Period. End of story. So let me kind of get that out. So I think Paul George is looking at these Jazz players and realizing, these dudes can't guard me one-on-one. Royce O'Neal can't stick Paul George one-on-one. Joe Ingles can't guard Paul George one-on-one. Bojan Bogdanovic can't guard Paul George one-on-one. He knows that. He knows he's the mismatch on the floor. And I think we're beginning to see a shift in Paul George that I wanted to talk about. Doc Rivers was the Clippers' curse. It's gone. Oh, I'm going to get to Doc Rivers. Thanks for that, Candace. There's going to be a roast. You know how they be doing with your marshmallows with the stick? Get your stick out, because there's going to be a roast a little bit later on in this live. Make sure you guys go ahead and hit the likes, guys, so we get more notifications out, so we get more people a part of this live. I'm definitely going to get to that in a little bit. Let me get back to the game here. So back to the game. I think Marcus Morris and Batum and Reggie Jackson need to have a repeat of what they just did. Now, I expect Clarkson and Bojan and Ingles and these guys, I expect them to make threes. Don't be surprised if they make threes, because these dudes can shoot. These dudes can shoot. I think the Clippers, from a defensive standpoint, if they're going to try to double Donovan Mitchell and get the ball out of his hands or make him a passer, I think the person they need to double off of what they did in game 5, this is why Ty Lue looks like he knows what the hell he's doing. The person they need to double off of is exactly the person that they doubled off of in game 5, needs to be Royce O'Neal. I think even a commentator, was it Greg Anthony, said the Clippers are forcing Royce O'Neal to become a decision maker, because once you double off of him, they swing him the ball, he has less than a second to make a decision. Is he going to put the ball on the floor? Is he going to throw up a three? Is he going to try to pass the ball? If that's the guy that's making decisions for you, you're playing into the game plan of the Clippers, I believe. So I think if the Clippers do trap Donovan Mitchell at different points, I think that's the guy they're going to sag off of. This is just my personal opinion, and that's what I and that's what I think. And I need to make him a decision maker. I also think that the Clippers need to try to get a lead early in this game. I think they need, if possible, I don't know, if possible, I think they need to try to get a lead early in this game. And I'll tell you the fundamental reason why. The reason I believe that the Clippers need to get a lead early in this game is because I truly, truly, truly believe that the Utah Jazz are just not mentally tough enough to make a run and catch them. I don't believe that the Utah Jazz are good at playing behind, especially in Staples. I don't believe. I think the Utah Jazz are good at playing ahead. Oh, they're good at that. You see dudes flexing. You see dudes, throwing it up, walking like this way and doing all these different things. But, you see Royce O'Neal waving to the bench. Yeah. You see me. Blah, 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 blah. You see me, son. Blah, blah, blah. All these different stuff, right? When they're ahead. When they're down, these dudes are like, oh, I don't know what happened. What's going on? They be looking at each other. Dudes is kicking Gatorade crates. That's what happens. These guys are front runners. If the Clippers can get ahead of them early, get a 10, 12, 8, 10, 12 point cushion, I don't trust the Utah Jazz to make a run on the Clippers and take the lead. And some of you say, but you're not respecting the Jazz enough. Okay, we're going off of history. In game 3 and game 4, when did the Utah Jazz, y'all realize the Utah Jazz never led at a half, at the half? Okay, let me say it another way. For the last 3 games, or at least the last 3 games, the Utah Jazz have never led the Clippers in the second half of the games. Never. The minute they took a lead on them, they were never able to overcome that lead. In LA, they led at no point in the second half. At no point. They lost by 24, then they lost by 14. So they haven't even in Utah, the Jazz were leading. Then the Clippers caught them. Once they caught them, the Jazz could never keep up with them again. In that third quarter, when they outscored them 32 to 18 points, that was it. They just couldn't seem to get over the hump, which brings me to players like Reggie Jackson and Marcus Morris. If you give Reggie Jackson, Mr. June, as they're calling him, thank you guys for explaining to me yesterday what Mr. October is. I finally figured it out, the baseball player. Thank you guys for that. If you give Reggie Jackson a 5 or 6 point lead, he will never allow you to catch him again. He will never, ever, ever allow you to catch him again. Reggie Jackson is like fighting a dude. The moment he gets you on the floor, he's on top of you, you're never gaining the upper ground on him. He's like, for what, you could try anything. You're just never going to get the lead again. Reggie Jackson has broken these dudes' hearts so many times. Ty Lue is coaching it. Yeah, you're definitely right. You're definitely right. You're definitely right. Ty Lue is doing his thing. I told you. We did a video about 3 or 4 days ago. I said I'm not criticizing Ty Lue again. You guys saw the videos on the channel. We published it a number of days back. When did we publish this video? We published it. When did we publish this video? We published it 2 days ago, 2-3 days ago. And I said I'm never doubting Ty Lue again. Ever, ever, ever. Wait a second. I think I just saw something from ESPN about Kawhi. I thought I saw something about ESPN. Just a second. I thought I just saw something about Kawhi Leonard. Give me a second here. Something just came out. Let me see. Kawhi Leonard. I could be wrong. Okay, no. Never mind that. Excuse that. Never mind. Anyway, so where was I about them? Getting a lead on them. Where was I? Where was I? Where was I? Where was I? Yeah. So I don't believe that the Utah Jazz are tough enough to catch the Clippers if they get a lead on them. That's the next thing. I know that there's going to be pressure today on the Clippers to win game 6. Absolutely. And let me say this for the people that came into the live a little bit later. This is a must win for the Clippers. This is a must win for the people that just came in. Make sure you guys hit the likes, please. And also for the people that came in that want to live chat tonight during the game, you can live chat with us on Dreamerspro Max. Marco's pinned that to the top there. You can get 7 days of access. So if you guys want to live chat, Marco's pinned it right there. You guys can definitely go up there and sign up. So let me just say that for the new people that just came in. Also, for the new people that are in here, I'm going to talk about Doc Rivers a little bit later, and I'm going to talk about the Philadelphia 76ers, and I'm going to give my prediction for that Atlanta Hawks game. So you guys will definitely want to hang out, stick around this live for that. I'm going to get to that just for the new people that came in because maybe some people that didn't hear that because I saw somebody said, I just got here. So that's that. So there will be pressure on the Clippers tonight to win this game. There's no doubt about it. There's just no doubt about it. I know that. But the Clippers do have something in their favor. Number one, this is the first time I think they're going to have a full arena. This is the first time they're going to have a packed arena. Do y'all realize the Clippers for the entire playoffs have not had a full home crowd? I think the maximum capacity, the maximum they've allowed them to play with is 7,000 fans. This is going to be the first night in the playoffs that the Clippers are going to have a packed house. Hey, Deuce, don't welcome in. Welcome in. This is the first time. And I think there's going to be an advantage to that because I think the crowd is going to do a good job of energizing these guys and getting them ramped up because I think Clipper fans tonight are going to sense the moment. Like, wait a minute. This is the moment that we could possibly get to a Western Conference Finals. So I think the fans are going to be rabid. I think they're going to be energized. I think they're going to be cheering them on all game long. Every single shot that they make, the fans are going to cheer them on. So I think the Clippers are also going to have a home court for the very first time in the playoffs. For the very first time in the playoffs, right? So the Utah Jazz are going to feel the pressure of the crowd, something the Clippers have felt already 3 times in Utah already. So there's going to be that advantage that the Clippers have. So although they have the pressure of trying to win this game, they're also going to have a crowd. Another thing, I also believe that some of the Clipper players are going to play better at home. I also believe that we got to factor that in because home court, for the most part, seems to be a real thing in sports. So I think the Clippers are going to play a little bit better at home today with their crowd. Somebody said, imagine if Snoop Dogg pulls up. Yo, I got to say this real quick. I'm not from California. Okay. I'm not from California. Grew up in New York, grew up on the East Coast. I just don't, well, maybe I kind of get it, but Laker fans, if they're any of you watching this video, Laker fans, or watching this live, Laker fans, let me just speak to you for a second. Let me speak to the Laker fans. Laker fans, let me reason with you guys for a second. Let me plead to you guys. Listen, LA, Clippers, Lakers, it's the same city, number one. It's okay to root for the Clippers. Now, I can understand if the Lakers were in the playoffs and the Clippers were in the playoffs, root for the Lakers. You got no problem. I have no issue with that. But guess what? The Clippers also in LA. It's okay to throw your support. I know it's going to be tough because growing up in New York, I know Knicks fans. There was a guy I used to go to school with. His name is Cheyenne. He was a huge Knicks fan. But I don't think Cheyenne is going to be pissed off if the Brooklyn Nets go to the finals. He's not going to be 100% upset, but he's going to feel all right that at least a team from the hometown won the championship and went to the final. Laker fans, just support the Clippers. That's number one. Number two, Laker fans, if you're watching this live, y'all know that Paul George and Kawhi Leonard are from California, right? Y'all know that. Why wouldn't you support one of your own? Now, I understand when Kobe went to Philly, When he won that championship, the Philly crowd booed him. But when he retired, they were giving him a standing ovation. These dudes are from LA. They're from California. Throw support to them. I'm just trying to, now I know you guys won't, but I'm just saying, just so you can have a better night. That's all I'm saying. Now, whether or not you do it or not, that has nothing to do with me because it's not affecting me in any type of way. But that's just for the love, man. I don't want to see Laker fans and Clippers fans beefing, especially y'all from the same town. So I've done my best. I tried to, people in the middle, people that are, I don't know, Atlanta fans and all of this stuff. Y'all saw me try to appeal to them. I did my best. So that I feel like I'm Fat Joe trying to squash the beef between Ja Rule and 50 Cent or something. I feel like Fat Joe trying to squash the beef between 50 Cent and Ja Rule right now, and they're like, nah, we're not feeling that, man. We're not feeling that. Laker fans like, nah, we ain't feeling that. I can't rock out with those dudes, man. No, we're not feeling that, man. We're not. The Laker fan like, nah, I'm good, man. I'm not feeling these dudes, man. No way. So I understand. Anyway, back to the game. I think the Jazz are going to be relentless today. I think they're going to attempt at least 35. I see some people cracking up in the comment section. I think they're going to attempt at least 35 to 40 3-pointers today. I definitely think that. So the Clippers need to be ready for that. The Clippers, they don't need to attempt as many shots. They need to get their shots up. Remember, they were making about 14 and a half a game. They just need to be efficient. Get to around that 40% mark. They'll be fine. I think if the Clippers can, they need to try to attack Rudy Gobert early and often and try to put him in foul trouble. If they can. If you can put Rudy Gobert in foul trouble, put him in foul trouble. When he's off the floor, you see they have a formula of attacking favors. If you can do it, do it. It works in your favor because it makes your job a little bit easier because they can attack the middle. So here's my prediction, and I'm going to get to Doc Rivers and the other team. So here's my prediction. I think it's going to be a very hard-fought game. But I believe that the Clippers will ultimately close out this series tonight. I think they're going to close out this series tonight. And I think that the Clippers are going to advance to the Western Conference Finals for the very first time. This is just my belief. One of the reasons I believe that, as I said before, I'm not sure if Utah has the mental fortitude to walk into LA again and win a game. The Clippers have already proven that they can beat Utah in Utah. The Jazz have yet to prove that they can beat the Clippers in LA. Now, can they do it? Absolutely. Do I believe it's going to happen? I don't. I think if the Clippers win this game tonight and they get to the Western Conference Finals, I think it's going to work wonders for Paul George's legacy. This is just my personal feelings. I think it's going to work wonders for Paul George's legacy because it's going to show in the moment of the most adversity, when you get a devastating piece of news that your best players could be potentially gone for the playoffs, you step up to the plate and you deliver in such a major way, that's going to work wonders for Paul George's legacy. Should they play Boogie tonight? No, I don't think they should play Boogie at all. I think the Clippers already have the formula. They shouldn't play Boogie at all. If you notice, the Clippers are going to play a small ball lineup. The only time that they bring a Ivica Zubac on the floor is when Rudy Gobert is getting minutes and they want to make sure that they have a rebounding advantage. If you guys notice what they've been doing. The moment they bring Rudy back on the floor, they sub in Nicholas Batum. Rudy Gobert is not an offensive threat. He's a rim roller. He can get putbacks, but he's not going to score at the basket. I think if you were playing against a big like probably Nikola Jokic or maybe Joel Embiid, then you have a different scenario. But in this particular case, I don't think he plays, and I don't think he will play. Now, back to Paul George. I think if they win this game and Paul George shows up, which I believe he will, I think it's going to work wonders for his legacy. However, there will be some people that will try to diminish what he's done. Unfortunately, there are going to be some people that try to shift the goalposts. Okay, well, he didn't accomplish anything. If you can get to the Western Conference Finals, you got to win at least 2 games off the – it's always going to be that, right? They're always going to keep pushing the goalposts, and that's just to be expected because that's what I've been seeing. So there are going to be people that feel like Paul George hasn't done enough, and that's just going to be part of par for the course, and that's that's to be expected. So I think the Clippers win tonight. Now, let me get into the Atlanta Hawks series. Let me just get into this Atlanta Hawks series. I want to close out with this. You guys definitely want to hear this because I'm also going to talk about Doc Rivers. First of all, I expect the Atlanta Hawks to advance to the Eastern Conference Finals tonight. You heard me say it before. I expect the Atlanta Hawks to advance to the Eastern Conference Finals. One of the reasons I believe that the Atlanta Hawks will advance are for two reasons. The first reason, we did a video on this about 1 year ago. Some girls came out. What's your problem with Ben Simmons? Why you hating? What's up with you? Why you hating on him? He doing his thing. I'm like, yo, listen. I know Ben Simmons is a good-looking guy. He's a handsome guy. I get it. Nobody hating on him on that level. All I'm saying is Ben Simmons, for the past 2 years, has not shown the ability to shoot. Ben Simmons is hurting his basketball team in fourth quarters with his inability to space the floor and knock down jump shots and hit free throws. This is not a diss on Ben Simmons. It's an indictment on his lack. Okay, first of all, let me pull up Ben Simmons' stats. Funny enough, I haven't even looked at Ben Simmons' numbers these playoffs. So let me look at what Ben Simmons is doing these playoffs. Let me look at his stats. Okay. Ben Simmons, these playoffs, is averaging 13.2 points per game. That's respectable, I guess you could say. He's shooting 65% from the field. That's respectable. He's shooting, this is unheard of. Ben Simmons is shooting 0% from the three-point line. 0% from the free throw line in the NBA in 2021. In the NBA that we playing today, an all-star is shooting 0% from three. 0. He's shooting. I didn't even know you can shoot this percentage from the free throw. Ben Simmons is shooting 32% from the free throw line. 32. That's worse than Shaq. Ben Simmons is he's a flat out liability for his team. I don't care what you say. You cannot be good for your team when you can't make threes, you don't make jumpers, and you can't make free throw. That is preposterous that you're that bad. Now, how does this tie into Doc Rivers? Do you know why this ties into Doc Rivers? Because Doc Rivers was the coach that said, if or anyone that thinks that benching Ben Simmons is a good thing doesn't know basketball. Doc Rivers is the most stubborn coach I have ever seen in my life. That statement pretty much summarizes the reason the Clippers lost last year in the playoffs. Let me tell you why. Last year in the playoffs, Doc Rivers refused to make any type of adjustments. He refused to make adjustments. Go back and look at Lou Williams' numbers in the playoffs last year. He's playing better now. Go look at his numbers last year. Go look at Montrezl Harrell's numbers. They were underperforming in the playoffs. And instead of Doc Rivers going to someone else, trying something else, you know what he did? He doubled down on playing Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell, knowing very well Montrezl Harrell was getting toasted by Nikola Jokic. He kept them out there, although they had Joakim Noah on the bench. Never gave Joakim Noah the day of life. Yet they brought him on the team. Think about this. Lou Williams was in there stinking up the joint, and he still kept playing him. This is the fundamental difference between Doc Rivers and Ty Lue. You know, the fundamental difference is the ego. Ty Lue said, wait a minute. What I initially thought is not working. What I thought would work is not working. So you know what? We got to do something different. We're going to bench Rondo. We're going to bench Zubac, and we're going to go small. We're going to bench Patrick Beverly. We're going to bench this particular player, and we're going to go to this other player, because Ty Lue realized that he wanted more to win than to be right. And because he decided to do what made sense, now everybody's giving him the praise, saying Ty Lue may be the best coach in the league, maybe the best coach in the playoffs. Meanwhile, Doc Rivers is there playing Ben Simmons, and the dude is shooting 0% from the three and zero. So basically, he provides zero spacing, zero. You're relying on Seth Curry to score 30 points in a game. And I'm like, what's going on? So the issues that the Philadelphia 76ers are having are 100% Doc Rivers' fault. You know why? Some people may say, but it's Ben Simmons. You know why I'm not putting it on Ben Simmons? You want to know why I'm not going to put it on Ben Simmons? Because everybody knew Ben Simmons couldn't shoot all season long. I think Ben Simmons has only made 3 3-pointers in his career. I can't even believe I'm saying the words. He's only made 3 3-pointers in his career. Like, I can't even say the words. It's so ridiculous. Only in sports you get away with stuff like this. Like, Ben Simmons has only made like 3 or 4 fourth in his career. Like I don't understand it. It's like I can't even put it into words. Where else do you know that something like that can exist in the world, in the real world? So we already knew Ben Simmons couldn't shoot. We already knew he can't make free throws. We knew this already. So if we knew it, Doc Rivers knew it. So if you know that this guy is a liability late in games, why are you playing him? And why are you saying other people don't know basketball? Because they would suggest, God forbid, they suggest that you don't play him in the fourth quarters. And they're like, no, you don't want to hurt his confidence. Bro, his confidence is irrelevant to the fact that he's not performing. You see Ty Lue will bench you in a hot minute. Ty Lue, he don't say nothing. He just like to the bench. That's it. Ty Lue doesn't care how you feel. It's, oh, the coach benched me. So you shouldn't be playing like garbage. So I blame that situation on Doc. Last year he was saying, oh, well, Ty Lue was sitting on the bench right next to me and blah, 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 blah. And that's the reason they lost. Nah, son, they lost because of you. They lost because you would refuse to make adjustments and you kept on playing the players that was playing like garbage in the playoffs, and that's why they lost. So I definitely think that the Atlanta Hawks are going to advance because they deserve to advance. Nobody wants to go watch in the Eastern Conference Finals somebody up there shooting 30% from the free. Nobody wants to see that. Don't nobody want to see that. Don't nobody want to see that. So please, I would rather the Atlanta Hawks move on than watch the Philadelphia 76ers. It's a disgrace. And I think if Philly does lose, which I believe they will, they got to blow up this team. They got to blow up the Philadelphia 70. They just have to. Or they need to get another coach. I mean, not another coach. Yeah, they need to send Ben Simmons away or something. Because I just believe this experiment is not working. I just don't believe that this experiment is working. It's not. Your second best player cannot not be cannot not know how to shoot. He cannot not know how to shoot. Like, it makes no sense. Then you got Joel Embiid out there at times playing like as if he's Kobe Bryant. Bro, you're a 7-footer. You shoot. Joel Embiid is shooting like 50-something% from the field. You should be shooting like 60+% from the field. Clint Capella can't stop him. He should be averaging like 40 points a game this series. But that's the coach. And he's the one that's playing these dudes. So somebody got to throw some heat at Doc Rivers. I'm sorry. Those are my thoughts. So I think the Clippers advance, and I think the Atlanta Hawks. And the reason I want the Atlanta Hawks to advance, because I'm just tired of looking at Ben Simmons and these dudes miss. I don't want to see it no more. Like, yo, show me something else. And let me tell you something. One quick thing about Trae Young. Trae Young has surprised me these playoffs, man. Trae Young is a flat out assassin, man. You look in his eyes, man. He's like the toughest dude on the court. He's not afraid of nothing. As far as like in basketball terms, he's not afraid of the moment. You saw him going to New York, talking trash to the crowd. I was like, yo, this dude is bananas. Trae Young, and I think this was his first time in the playoffs. Get the Sixers up out of there, or they need to get rid of Ben. Something needs to change because this Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid thing is not working, in my opinion. So, those are my thoughts. Again, for you guys that want a live chat tonight during the game, make sure you guys go ahead and sign up to Dreamerspro Max. It's posted up there. Once again, we appreciate you guys for being a part of this live. It was definitely a lot of fun. Wishing you guys a great Friday. Have a good one, and we'll definitely catch you guys tomorrow for the recap of what happens during that game. Once again, man, thank you guys for being a part of this live. We appreciate it, and definitely have a good one. We'll catch you guys later. Have a good one. Peace.